Today we're going to cover some common beginner photography mistakes you need to stop making today. These are small little tweaks that will make a big difference to improving your photography. Some may seem simple and obvious in retrospect, but when you're first starting out, you might not know any better. And if you do any of these, don't feel bad, we all have at some point. Let's get into it. Not lining things up. Lining things up is a simple yet important component of photography composition. It's one of those things more advanced photographers do subconsciously and forget they're doing. Because of this, many people can forget to teach it because it's so obvious. But lining things up is how we get structure and symmetry to our photos, which helps them feel right. Here's how to learn it. When it comes to lining things up, don't be lazy and don't wait to do it in post. Of course, you can always use the rotation and crop tool to adjust your photos until things feel symmetrical. This is necessary. Everyone rotates, but it can also become a bad habit and we shouldn't look at it as the primary solution. Instead, we should try and get things as right as possible when we're taking the photo, and then adjust later if necessary. That way, we build the better habits to understand orientation and our photography gets better. It'll also save us the time and effort of doing it later. To do this, I recommend learning to look for anchor points out in the real world to line things up. This could be the walls of a building, the horizon line in the distance, or objects and subjects in your photos. No matter where you are, there's always a vertical or horizontal anchor point for you to latch onto and orient your frame. All you have to do is look for it before pressing the shutter. Then, just try to make these lines parallel or perpendicular to the outer screen of your camera and things will look better. You can also turn the horizon line on in your camera, but I personally don't prefer this. It kind of interferes with what I'm seeing, and for some images, true horizontal doesn't actually look right. So you can look for anchor points both in the real world and in post to help line things up. The real world should come first, and in post should be a backup if necessary. Cooking your photos. Photography isn't just about taking photos, it's also about editing them. And if you're the photographer who only shoots JPEGs, you can ignore this. The common editing mistake I see beginner photographers make is cooking their photos. Cooking is a term we use to describe a photo that's been over-edited. This is very easy to do when you're a beginner because you have no understanding of what is too little or too much. Plus, when entering a powerful photo editing software like Lightroom or Capture One, it's tempting to want to do more. We see all the sliders, the color wheels, the layers, the masking, and we think, because they're there, we should use them, which results in our photos being a discombobulated mess because we just did too much. So remember, just because a tool exists doesn't mean you have to use it. Many of your photos aren't going to need a zillion different touch-ups to look good. And as you gain experience, you'll understand what you can push and pull and what adjustments are needed. But for now, just do a few small adjustments and move on. Your photos will look that much better because they'll simply be that less bad. Standing too far. Another common problem, especially in street photography, is standing too far. I think beginners, myself included, are a bit scared to approach their subjects. Therefore, we take photos from afar, a bit nervous to get close, which leads to less intimate photos. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you have to be in people's faces, but try taking 1 or 2 steps forwards. It's not going to kill you. If you're having trouble doing so, a simple reminder to yourself to get closer before taking a photo can help a lot. Ask yourself, would this look better if I got a little closer? Then take a few steps, take the shot, and compare later. The difference in field of view might surprise you. Not utilizing light right. Many beginners have difficulties understanding light, understandably so. This is because light does a lot of things in photography, so it can be a bit confusing, and there isn't one right way to make use of light. For example, most people think of light as something to light or expose their subject. But light is so much more than that. Light also has shape, light draws lines, and light can be a subject itself. If you want a more detailed explanation, check out the light chapter in Photography Essentials. We cover the bases there. But essentially, to understand light, we must first learn to see light. Here's a practical photography exercise that has helped me understand light. Change your camera settings to black and white and max out the highlights and shadows. From here, just take photos as you normally would for a month. Or at least a week. It'll be weird at first, but you'll soon start to get it. Shooting in black and white helps us eliminate the distractions of color and focus on the framing and composition of our photos. Maxing out the contrast allows us to see light and shadow better. Doing so will allow us to filter out the unnecessary stuff and just focus on light. Little by little, we'll start to notice, see, and pay attention to light in the real world, even when we don't have a camera. And once you begin to see light, you'll begin to understand it. Even if you're not a beginner photographer anymore, try it out. I find this to be a great exercise and recap for any photographer. And you may learn something new about light that you didn't know before. Forcing the photo. The final beginner photography mistake you need to stop making is to stop forcing your photos. This is a big one, and I think it affects even the more advanced photographers. People see pictures on Instagram edited in a certain way and they want to do the same. They want a style for their photography, so they try to make every photo look like that. They have a vision of what this photo is supposed to be, so they'll force the image to be that way, even if it doesn't work. The biggest lesson here is to stop forcing your photos. Trying to make a photo look like something it's not won't work, and you can't polish a turd. This is the unfortunate reality of photography. Not every photo is going to look like how you want it to. And if you don't have these variables controlled for, like much of candid photography is, you can only do so much. I found in my experience that trying to force a photo and make it look like something it's not only leads to worse results. And instead, it's better to work with the photo, not against it. Pay attention to the light and time of day you already have for any given photo and just emphasize on that. Don't try to turn a harsh midday edit into a beautiful golden hour shot. Don't try to pump up and bring out the saturation of a photo when there's nothing colorful there. Don't force your photos, work with them, not against them. You'll be fine. So here are 5 quick fixes that will improve your photography today. 1. Line things up. Find anchor points out in the real world and use them to compose your frame. Doing so will give your photos structure and symmetry, and they'll look better because of it. 2. Stop cooking your photos. You don't need to use every slider in your editing software. Less is more. 3. Get a little closer. Just take 1 or 2 steps towards a better shot. It's a good habit to build. 4. Learn to see light. Try the black and white exercise at least for a week. You'll start to see light better, and by doing so, we'll understand and be able to utilize light better. 5. Work with your photo. Pay attention to not only what your photo is, but more importantly, what it's not. And don't try to turn it into something else. Work with it for a more synergistic edit. You'll get better results that way. So that sums it up. If you found this helpful or valuable, please share this with a friend who also could use this. Also, if you'd like to learn more and build a solid foundation with photography, go to Photography Essentials. It's free. You can also support me by adding to the travel fund or by grabbing a copy of my latest zine, The Sinking Sun. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Peace.